Anyone that knows me knows how much I love Scrubs. It's one of those shows that I'm always in the mood for and that I tend to rewatch at least once or twice every year. It's kinda like a comfort food for me, and a lot of why I think Scrubs is such a great show is because of how its creator and showrunner, Bill Lawrence, manages to mix pathos, the emotion-driven Socratic mode of persuasion, with raunchy and creative humor in a way that services both my stupid human emotions and my funny bone.
Okay, easy, buddy.
Was she your woman?
What is Elmo, a seal?
And while the show has a number of characters that I regularly quote and relate to, one of the characters that I've always had a special affinity for was Perry Ulysses Cox, the gruff, tough, push-has-come-to-shove doctor who serves as our protagonist JD's mentor.
Is that all you got?
I can't get enough of John C. McGinley's portrayal of the character and his mentorship over JD. While JD is a whimsical and somewhat effeminate lead, Cox works as his counterpoint. He serves as a surrogate father for our character and helps take him from being a meek intern to being a successful doctor. And today, I'm going to explore what I think is the centerpiece of Dr. Cox's character and what made him successful in being Newbie's mentor, as well as being a bit of a cautionary tale for him.
What are you saying? That you want to be like me? I understand that I just barely want to be like me.
But first, let's discuss Dr. Cox himself. We all know that he can be a little hard to deal with and that he tends to butt heads with the other doctors at Sacred Heart. This ultimately stems from his very cynical worldview that people are ostensibly bad or evil.
Lady, people aren't chocolates. Do you know what they are mostly? Bastards. Bastard-coated bastards with bastard filling.
It's a bit of a narcissistic take to have on humanity, but it falls perfectly in line with who Dr. Cox is as a person and how his life experiences shaped him into being the person that he is. For example, we know that he had a pretty abusive childhood thanks to a season 5 episode where we meet his sister Paige.
I've worked hard to try to forget everything about our childhood. When I see you, I can't think about anything else.
To keep things simple, we know that Dr. Cox is both jaded and tired of being a doctor. We also know he's pretty cynical and doesn't think much of the common man, and we can assume that part of this is due to his experiences growing up and how he never had a mentor of his own. Except that he actually did have a mentor of his own, as we saw in season 1. But his mentor was a bit of a dick, so that's actually a bit of a moot point and probably only helps my argument. However, through knowing JD, Dr. Cox actually starts to change a bit over the course of Scrubs.
I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. I've learned that not all of Newbie's ideas are completely ridiculous. Do you love it as much as I do?
When JD starts at Sacred Heart, it doesn't take long for him to cling to Dr. Cox for moral support. And while Dr. Cox seemingly doesn't want anything to do with JD, he continues to keep an eye on the young doctor.
You know that I try harder than anyone in this place, and you never give me any credit.
Now you listen to me, Newbie. I'm not doing this because I get my jollies off of being your mentor, and I'm damn sure not doing it so that years from now I can say, boy, I knew him when. I'm doing it because if I don't, people would die.
Yeah, it's mostly so that JD doesn't accidentally kill someone while he's on the job, but it's repeatedly established over the course of season 1 that Dr. Cox genuinely likes him and wants to see him succeed, even if he's too emotionally constipated to admit it.
John Dorian. Smart kid, he's extremely competent, and his enthusiasm and his determination to always be better is something I see in him 24 hours a day. He cares. Probably cares too much.
And this is apparent from as soon as the end of the first episode to Scrubs, when he tries to pat him on the back. As for why Dr. Cox accepts JD as his pupil, season 1 also manages to hint towards a possible answer. In the first episode that features Dr. Cox's ex-wife Jordan, she mentions that JD reminds her a lot of Perry.
You know, you remind me of him when he was younger.
And when we meet Jordan's brother, we actually see that Perry and Ben have a relationship that, in a lot of ways, mirrors Turk and JD's bromance. He probably sees a lot of himself, or the person that he either used to be or could have been, in JD, and wants to make sure that JD doesn't lose that.
I like that guy.
But conveniently, his relationship with JD also manages to refine his ability as a doctor too. Sure, he annoys the crap out of Dr. Cox, but he also recognizes his potential as a doctor and his capacity for empathy, which is something that Cox struggles with personally. Through spending so much time with JD and watching him grow from being an intern to an attending, Dr. Cox learns how to relate to his patients, fix his relationship with Jordan, and how to stop getting in his own way all the time. Essentially, being a mentor allows Dr. Cox to help himself through helping JD. It's kinda counterintuitive, but it asserts that Dr. Cox is a smart and capable person who knows the answers to his problems, but just needs some help recognizing that he did. JD's just the rock that Dr. Cox needed to ground himself in the professional world and to help him keep it together.
And he desperately needs someone on the other side to tell him what he should do, whether he wants to hear it or not. And now that person is you. Here we are.
Will he at least be grateful?
No. He's gonna hate you for it.
But what makes him cautionary? Well, Dr. Cox tends to get in his own way a lot, and when we're first introduced to him in Scrubs, he's a little rough around the edges.
So, all done?
He lives in a sterile and impersonally decorated apartment, he drinks excessively, and he uses his difficult, hard-to-handle demeanor as a means of distancing himself from other doctors. Only, as we get to know him over the course of the show, as well as watch him grow as a person, we see that none of this is really who Dr. Cox is. When Jordan leaves to visit her mother, we actually see Dr. Cox in a vulnerable place for once when he's shown actively being lonely.
The obvious way to beat loneliness is with the company of others.
Hey, Tedsky, could I maybe help you here? That's
Really?
a lot of files.
Hey!
No problemo.
And in Season 8, after becoming the chief of medicine, we see that Dr. Cox actually misses spending time with his patients, and that he's equally disappointed to miss out on spending time with his son Jack. We even get to see him trying to mentor a new intern who doesn't want anything to do with him. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that because Dr. Cox sees so much of himself in JD, he represents what could have happened to JD if he hadn't served as a mentor to him. Without Dr. Cox's guidance, or had he failed to be a good role model or secondary father figure to JD, he probably would have ended up a lot like the Dr. Cox we met at the beginning of the series. And I think Dr. Cox knows this, or at least comes to know this after his second encounter with JD's brother, who tells him to stop JD from becoming another cynical doctor.
Dr. Cox, Johnny's never gonna look up to me. Ever. But he hangs on your every word. So I'm telling you, take that responsibility seriously. Stop being such a hard ass. Otherwise, you're gonna have to answer to me.
Likewise, over the course of Scrubs, we see Dr. Cox go from being a closed-off, difficult-to-deal-with doctor to being more open and lighthearted, albeit with a Coxian twist.
You know, when my father died, all I could focus on was how much he was never there, but you're lucky. You got some positive stuff you can dwell on. Throw the ball, you jackass.
He is a jackass.
At the end of the day, and whether or not you agree with my assessment of the character or not, Dr. Cox is a great fixture on television. He's one of the funniest and most memorable characters on the show, and I genuinely believe that he deserves to go down as one of the great TV characters of the 21st century due to how flawed and human he is. He's also just a great example of a character that has a great capacity and desire to feel, even if the act of feeling terrifies him as much as it clearly does.